press record now. Yeah, for those of you who didn't catch as well, just in terms of accessibility, we have got captions that you can turn on if you're having trouble hearing me. If on the bottom of the screen there where the three dots are, you can enable your captions, and we will be downloading that as a transcript and sending that out to everybody if needed. I suppose I'll just tell you a little bit more about Artful Make It Happen. So we're an arts organisation, we're a social enterprise, which means we're an organisation that's not for profit and we're for social outcomes, basically. So we work with communities using the arts, and we founded Rotherham Creative Network in 2017 along with a group of creatives. I think Mark, one of the co-founders, is in the room. As I've just said, it was basically based on need of a way for us to share creativity, to share networks, jobs, opportunities, and to just come together as like-minded people. We've got Helen from FLUX with us today. Give us a wave, Helen, if you can see there. So a special welcome to Helen. Helen is the Director for Creative People and Places, which is an Arts Council programme. I think some of Helen's team might be on the call as well, so hello to you all. As I said, we've got quite a few of these events coming up. We have got one booked in for the following month, which will share some information in the chat to you before you all leave. But before we did hand over the session to Helen and the FLUX team, I was wanted to know if you would like to share some information about yourselves today. So if you would, feel free to put something in the chat and introduce yourself, why you're here, and maybe what we'd like to get out of today's session and why you've come along. And that could just be personally motivated. You might be wanting to come to meet people. You might have been told to come for your job. It might be just to network and meet other people. But if you wouldn't mind putting something in the chat to just introduce yourselves, that'd be great. And as Mark said, do feel free to share any social medias, any websites and things, or any information about yourself that you don't mind others knowing. Oh, it's great to see some people actually we connect with on social media who I've not actually met in person or ever seen, so welcome. As you're all doing that and introducing yourself, then I suppose we can hand it over to Helen from FLUX for your presentation, if that's all right. Helen, you want to introduce yourself? And
yeah, that's great. Thank you, Vicky. Hi, everybody. Lots of you I do know, lots of you I don't know, so that's really exciting too. So lovely to see you all. Thanks for coming. And thanks to Vicky for hosting and getting to grips with Zoom, and because it's a mystery still to many of us. But yeah, but you know, bear with us, obviously, as we've all been saying for the last 3 years. So Vicky is going to share a presentation. I'm just going to introduce myself first before I get her to go on the screen. Then you don't have to look at my face, which is sort of good at this time of night. And then we'll try and keep questions to the end, if that's okay. So I'll just kind of whiz through some different bits and bobs. For those of you who know this, forgive me, you'll have heard some of this lots of times, but actually there's lots of new information in here as well, and lots of opportunities and kind of stuff to share. So I'm Helen. I'm the director for FLUX Rotherham, one of the Creative People and Places programmes and Rotherham's Creative People and Places programme. And I've been working in Rotherham for about 16 months now. So if you can share the presentation, Vicky, and then we'll kind of crack through that and then get to the good bits. Fab. Thank you, Vicky. I haven't got any sound or anything jazzy or anything like that. I'm just going to talk. So yeah, first slide, please, Vicky. So I'm not going to read from slides. I'm not doing death by PowerPoint at 7 o'clock at night. You can kind of read these bits for yourselves. So Vicky will give you adequate time to do that. But just a little bit of an overview. So FLUX Creative People and Places programmes, there's 39 of them across England. Some of those have been running, they're into their 10th year now. So whereas Rotherham got the funding, secured the funding in 2019, but then really nothing happened for a good couple of years because of obvious reasons. When Rotherham went for the funding, it's a consortium and it's still exactly the same consortium. So it's Voluntary Action Rotherham, who are FLUX's kind of host organisations, which is a charity, not-for-profit organisation. Wentworth Woodhouse Preservation Trust, Rotherham Council, Grimm & Co, and Rotherham Open Arts Renaissance. So you've got a really nice kind of collective of both arts partners and infrastructure partners that can sort of really connect with communities and so on. So when I said that some of those projects are into their 10th year, there were 6 originally, and then kind of new creative people and programs get sort of brought on every 3 years. You can only apply to be part of the program if you there's something called the Active Lives Survey that comes out every few years, and actually is also based on census data and so on. And that looks at the participation levels. It's for both sports and arts, but actually Rotherham has really, really poor statistics. So we rate kind of really poorly around access and participation to the arts. So we're 10% below the national average at the moment, which is pretty terrible. Rotherham also, out of the 4 South Yorkshire boroughs, gets the least funding. We are working really, really hard to change that. But from Arts Council funding, I think Sheffield got something like £9 per head per person. Rotherham got £2.40 per head, and Doncaster and Barnsley got about £4.50. So I'm not going to talk loads of numbers, but it does kind of demonstrate that big divide in sort of what's here. We've actually been really successful over the last couple of years. So we've now got more fully funded organisations. So our heritage services are funded by Arts Council now. Grimm & Co got a big uplift in their Arts Council funding this year, and Rotherham Open Arts Renaissance also got their funding at standstill. And our programme, FLUX Rotherham, is now part of that MPO as well. So we do have massively ambitious targets. You can see there, this programme is all about engagement and engaging people who have less access to the arts and to culture. And that is about people in their communities choosing and co-producing what happens. So it isn't about us just dropping activity in, not at all. It's about really, really working with communities and finding out what they want. These are not just our figures to achieve, these are kind of across Rotherham. So this is a combination of all of heritage. So it's the events. So Rotherham Show will be included in here. Some years Rotherham Show gets 80,000 visitors over the weekend. So you can kind of see it's not as scary when you start to talk about those numbers, but actually it's about an ambition for the borough. And you'll see there in 4 years, we're kind of looking to sort of close that gap in people kind of engaging in the arts. Next one, please, Vicky. Said I wasn't going to do the next slide, but you probably can't see me waving my hands. So we, in the original bid that was actually written by that consortium of partners, they put in 4 different target audiences. So I'm not going to kind of go into them in detail, but you will see when lots of the commissions and events that we're kind of producing come out, you'll see that it's related to these kind of different audiences. So particularly around young people 16 to 25, that is about that next generation of creatives. So we are next week doing a recruitment morning for 3 young festival makers that will be part of our FLUX team, and they'll be mentored and they'll be working on all of the events over the next year, which is really, really exciting for us. That comes off the back of a programme that Rotherham Council led last year, where 59 young people aged 16 to 25 got to be young producers and create some amazing events over the last year. And this is all working towards Rotherham being Children's Capital of Culture in 2025. There's various ways that we do this. So this is sometimes about young people being the producers of the work. Sometimes it's activity which they take part in. Sometimes they're producing work for other audiences. So a lot of the time that might be family kind of audiences and younger children and young people as well. And good examples of this where we're looking at kind of showcasing work. So a lot of young people have told us and other partners that there isn't a platform for their work. So a nice example might be when we do the Skate and Art Festival in Easter, that there is a music platform that young people can share their own music on. They can DJ on the stage, they can kind of be alongside professional musicians and create some fantastic experiences there for audiences. Next one, Vicky. Yeah, so another target audience for us is culturally diverse communities. So this kind of taps into some sort of real geographic kind of based communities. So Rotherham is, I think, culturally diverse wise 9.1%, so really similar to sort of Doncaster and Barnsley, but actually really culturally diverse population across the central belt of Rotherham. So Rotherham's, lots of you will know this, north, kind of south and central, so really interesting diversity across the centre. Really big Pakistani Kashmiri population, big Roma Slovak population as well, so fantastic opportunities around music, dance, performing arts, all sorts of different things. We support a lot of different groups to kind of run activity, to choose activity, to go and see activity, and then specific festivals. Ferrum Festival, which restarted for the first time last year, I think for 3 years. It's been running for a really long time, but then sort of had a break because of the pandemic, and then just because of all sorts of other things, weather and all sorts of crazy things. But last year we delivered Ferrum Festival in partnership with Rotherham United Community Sports Trust and lots of other people, basically on a field which was hotter than the surface of the sun. So some of you will remember that, some of you who came, some of you who worked as artists on it. It was absolutely crackers, but an amazing event and such a richly diverse event. Next year we want to, and I'll talk about sort of commissioning around this in a little bit, but we really want to engage with the community a lot earlier. So this year it was quite a quick turnaround, so it's very much about programming in partnership with the community, but there was no kind of build up in terms of people making work to be part of that. So this year there will be kind of programs coming out around engaging, particularly around schools and different community groups in Ferrum. And obviously we support Diversity Festival, which happens as part of Rotherham Show. Next one, please, Vicky. Women and girls. So I think quite a few of you were with us last year for the WOW Festival. So we currently support the biennial WOW Rotherham Festival, and they're the biggest global festivals in the world that celebrate women's achievements, and also sort of really create a platform for us to have difficult conversations, but also share incredible work and incredible stories. So WOW Rotherham will be returning June the 10th this year. I can see Noah on the call, who is the community producer for WOW Festival, so she can chip in later and tell you lots more interesting stuff about it. But we do a lot of work directly with groups of women and girls, so that's very much about being led by what they're interested in. So working next year around Reclaim the Night, but then we've got a fantastic group who are going from strength to strength, and they're saying, well, what can we do next? So they did a great portrait project with an artist, and then it was a what next, and that's kind of turning into a real sort of visual arts skills-based project, working in one of the mosques locally. So next one, please, Vicky. And then the final one is post-industrial communities. So you start to kind of get thematically, you get lots of things kind of bubbling up from different communities. So sometimes we'll do projects which go right across the whole borough, and then sometimes you do something which is very hyper local and has come specifically from that community. So some of you will have seen the commissioning that we've done recently. So we're going to community panels next week for any of those of you who have applied. That's what we're doing, so that'll happen next week. So we'll do really specific pieces of commissioning around communities, like the ones we've got out at the moment are Catcliffe, Canclo and Wath upon Dearn, but then there are other communities that we've been rooted in for quite a long time. So we've got a really big project in Maltby around photographs and history and sort of picturing Maltby and those sorts of things. Sometimes, a lot of the time when we work with groups or communities for a long time, it turns into something much bigger, and then we start to support them to go for their own funding. So when they're ready to to really kind of shape something themselves, and they're like, actually we really want to work with this artist and we want to kind of turn this into something much bigger. So sometimes we're kind of sowing the seeds of something, giving them a taste of lots of different artists, kind of making sure that people have the skills and the capacity for success, and then supporting them to apply directly for funding. And I haven't mentioned go see visits. We are doing lots and lots of go see visits. That's in partnership with Children's Capital of Culture. And that's about both community members, about artists and other kind of practitioners coming together and going to see other kind of really inspirational events like Stockton International Riverside Festival, Greenwich and Docklands International Festival. It might be about going to see another project that we're really interested in, or people say, oh, actually, we kind of want to go and see somebody's studio, or we want to go. We took a group called Naya Zindagi to Artworks South Yorkshire to see their studio space, which was really exciting to kind of see how people operate in their studio. So next one, please, Vicky. Okay, so we support quite a number of events and festivals over the year. Some of these will kind of remain the same every year, and sometimes they'll change. So there's just some dates for your diaries, and you'll see we've got some opportunities kind of coming out around some of these, some which are already out, some of which are about to come out. So Uplift is Rotherham's Skate and Art Festival, which we delivered for the first time in partnership with Rotherham Council last year, amidst storms and hail, showers and just horrendous kind of things. At one point we had to move a massive installation into the indoor market, and then found out that the indoor market actually might not be structurally sound enough to take the weight of said installation. There are all these kind of exciting logistical things that we have to get to grips with as well, which is fun, keeps life interesting. But that returns to the 5th and 7th of April. That's going to be across the town centre this year. So there's all sorts of brilliant things. Skate and BMX demos. There'll be a commission coming out for a graphic artist soon to decorate sort of wayfinding site dressing across the town centre. So that's around, we'll share information around these kind of things, so you don't have to take loads of notes. But that'll be around creating graphic elements and wayfinding for the town centre, and then graphic assets that we can kind of use in floor vinyls and on windows and on directly on the ramps and so on. We're also kind of a roller disco, which fills me with fear around risk assessment. Thankfully, it's not me writing the risk assessment, it's RMBC. And we've got a company called Roller Girl Gang who are going to run that. And then Apricot Ballroom are going to DJ it, which will be amazing. And we've got Laurie and Tom from the Bridge Inn programming the music stage. So I'm not gonna steal any of their thunder and tell anyone what's kind of coming out on there, but they've got some amazing Rotherham bands, so there's incredible opportunities for people. And that's 3 days of solid kind of free music, free creative workshops. There's another opportunity out which some of you will have seen to put your ideas forward to run creative workshops. So I can't see who's on the call, but quite a lot of people ran sort of screen printing, lots of kind of have a go workshops, drop-in things last year. We're really interested in kind of broadening that out as well, and looking at dance and having a go at different elements that really link with sort of skate culture there. June the 10th, while Rotherham is back this year, it will be in the town centre, so working with a lot of those businesses in the town centre, so those kind of independent businesses. There'll be commissioning coming out as part of the WOW festivals as well. Noah is working as the community producer, and she will be do you want to say anything, Noah, or do you want to say something at the end? Do you want to unmute and say what you'll be doing in terms of community groups?
Yeah, so I'm Noah, I'm the community producer for WOW Rotherham Festival. I worked alongside it last year as well. And it was like being on the sun, just like Ferrum Festival was. It was really hot. So yeah, it's on the 10th of June this year, and we're looking at taking over some venues in Rotherham Town Centre, doing it over one day rather than over two at Clifton Park. We're looking to work with women, non-binary and trans people across Rotherham. So we're really looking to find those strong connections in groups and stuff to go in and you know, support them in producing, maybe taking over a venue and they program their own sort of thing, or was looking for artists or what sort of speakers that want based on topics that we established from doing things called thinkings, which is basically like put a spread on, loads of people come together, we ask them sort of topics that we may look for when we're doing WOW, which comes with like loads of different building blocks, just to really establish what those communities want. So when we're producing something, we really are considering everybody else in mind. I think that's it.
Thank you, Noah. That was only so I could stop talking for a minute.
You're right.
Put her on the spot. But also as part of WOW Festival, there'll be opportunities for artists and creatives to run creative workshops, platforms in terms of stage talks, all those kind of good things. So yeah, there'll be loads of more information coming out about that when we've built the mini site within our website, which will be, I think that'll go live by about the 6th of Feb. I'm saying these dates, and that means I'm actually committing to stuff, doesn't it? So I hope no one's writing these down. Anything where I'm going, that'll definitely happen. The festivals will definitely happen. Just exactly when we get stuff out is a bit more sketchy. 15th of July, Ferrum Festival returns. So it'll be a Saturday this year. We're looking at an awful lot more. Those of you who know Ferrum will know that it's a massive field. Vicky knows Ferrum Field, I don't know what's called, Ferrum Park very, very well. It's a huge field. There is next to no infrastructure in it. There's next to no trees in it. There's kind of a few trees around the edges, and really for sort of festival site it works brilliantly because it's massive and it's right in the heart of the community, but there's no shade, there's no kind of real sort of festival vibe to it. So we will be running quite a lot of commissioning around festival site dressing, and we're looking at setting a sort of festivals group up so that we start to really build content for Rotherham. So Vicky's already involved in that, and Jen Booth and Angie Hardwick and Karen Hall, but we'll be shouting out for lots more people to be involved in that, lots more engagement work with communities. So that isn't just about artists doing that by themselves, it's about creating work with communities, kind of creating a real sense of ownership, and then making sure that we can kind of share those assets across the different community festivals, not just restricted to FLUX. That's kind of for everybody to sort of share. Rotherham Show returns September 2nd to the 4th. We Wonder Noir will be, that's at Wentworth Woodhouse. Some of you will have experienced that. So we're actually looking at doing, I didn't know this until today, but there will probably be a We Wonder in the summer, in August, and then there'll definitely be one in October, which will also launch Wentworth's cultural strategy. The one in autumn is more of a digital festival kind of event, sort of taking over the house, more of an indoor event, and then the summer one is more of an outdoor event. So I talked a little bit about Uplift, which is a skate and art festival around wayfinding and site dressing commissions. I have just written the brief for that, so I'm just getting that checked, and then that should be out really, really soon, not tonight. The community commissions that we put out around Catcliffe, Canclo and Wath, they will be decided by community panel. So just to tell you a little bit about the process of when we commission, we write the briefs with the communities. So they kind of say what they want to put in it, and then we sort of write it into the wording, and then they tweak it, and then we put it out. When it comes to community panel, we get all of the applications back in for everything. And then we sort of, we kind of decipher them. So we go through everything, and then we ask the questions of the artists, the creatives that are applying, that we think the communities will ask. So if we're like, oh, it's not very clear like how many sessions someone would deliver, or who they want to work with, or what the outcomes might be, or those kind of, what would that look like, what would that kind of feel like, we're not maybe getting that from the application, then we go back and ask all of those questions of the artists before we go to community panel, and then we talk community panel through everything. The community panels are different for different things, so we don't have one that kind of covers everything that we commission out. The Skate and Art Festival is a young panel. Ferrum Festival will be a community panel rooted in that community. The community ones around Catcliffe, Canclo and Wath are all different from each other. They're residents that are local and kind of members of groups that are based there. So you kind of get a bit of a feeling of how that works. So we kind of take them a bit of an overview, and they get the full proposals as well, redacted for anybody's personal details or names or anything, so you kind of remove any sort of bias out of that. So I hope that's helpful. I don't know if that's helpful. Ferrum Festival I talked a little bit about, but we'll be looking for people to run creative workshops, all the events that we run, and then that community engagement project to create site dressing for the festival. And it's, yeah, sorry, next one, Vicky, thank you. I'm realising I'm running out of time, I'm going to talk faster. So one of the things that we do is support practitioners locally to access fundraising and professional bid writing support for your projects. And that's usually Arts Council, either project grants or DYCP, Developing Your Creative Practice grants. It's not exclusively, it doesn't have to be those, it's just they're kind of the easiest ones for individual artists or collectives to apply to. So far we've supported 9 artists in Arts Council project grants funding who've been successful, so that's great. That sounds bigger than it is. 7 of them were in a collective, so basically there's been 3 successful Arts Council project grants, but in the last sort of 4 months or so, which is really good. I know that another couple of artists have been successful with funding, not that we've helped with that. And we've got a DYCP bid pending with an artist in this current round. So there could be other Rotherham artists that have put in. And I know that another Rotherham artist did get a successful Developing Your Creative Practice in the last round. So that's really good. But the way that we do that, I could see Chris on the call earlier. So Chris is supporting one of our community groups to go for a funding bid. But then we support individual artists and collectives in different ways. So it might be just as sort of critical friend that you've already written your bid, and then we kind of go in and go, I don't know what that means, and what you need to strengthen this. We know that they're really looking for this. So that kind of quite light touch support. And then with other people really sort of rigorously supporting them with a bid writer when it's something much bigger. Free training, we can pay for training. And that's about people coming together and going, we would really like this, we would really kind of like to know more about this, or we would like this kind of particular skill set, or we want to know more about Canva or whatever. It can kind of be all sorts of different things. That doesn't mean we can pay for anyone's PhD. It's not about, you know, formal kind of stuff like that. It's about coming together and going, what do we need in Rotherham? What are people sort of saying, actually, if I could have this, it'd really help my practice, it'd really help me engage with communities. So yeah, that's sort of coming together to look at that. Applying for creative commissions with communities and as part of major events. I've talked a lot about the specific stuff around events. The community commissioning is really interesting, because what tends to happen when we commission out from a community around a brief, they want more than there is actually funding for at that point. But what we start to do is kind of go, actually, they're really interested in this artist, and we think there's something else there, and we think there's kind of a link between this group. So we're kind of the glue or the bit that kind of helps the jigsaw to unlock a little bit, so we can start to just make those connections and marry those things up and start to sort of get some of those things rolling with a bit of funding. Access partnerships with national programs and international companies. What we're trying to do with all the work that we're doing, so we've currently got partnerships with Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, with Arts Council National Collection, with the National Gallery. I'm going to forget some, I can't remember the other ones. With WOW Global, is making sure that wherever we're doing those kind of partnerships is we're enabling that access for local artists and practitioners to connect with those organisations for both development, for kind of co-delivery, and really working together on those programmes to make that happen, so that it means that when, you know, we're not just kind of bringing people in, it's about that real genuine sort of engagement. And we found that. So we worked with WOW Global last year, and they're an amazing team, but I know we will do things very differently this year, just because we learned so much from working with them. And yeah, it's about us having real confidence in doing that as well. The artist directory. So some of you will already be part of this. So we have an artist directory on our website, which is free. Loads of artists asked for this, loads of organisations, commissioning organisations asked for this. They want somewhere searchable to kind of look for artists and creative practitioners directly. So we developed this artist directory. You just go and put your own, you submit your own details. We don't broker anything. So once you're on the directory, people will come directly to you. So your website is on there, or your Instagram, whatever. And then, you know, people can kind of ask questions directly, book you, talk about projects, brief you, whatever they kind of want to do. We've just added a load of new categories on there, or our web designers have. So it might be that it's not quite working at the moment, but we just need to kind of go back in and re-tag everybody with those bits. So Eleanor and Christopher are on with that. We're also creating, it's all the infrastructure is there, we just kind of need to get it more populated. A suppliers directory and venue directory, and then a kind of events directory as well. So that's all kind of coming. So you can submit your own stuff. If you've got a venue, please send it through, and all the details will circulate afterwards through Vicky. And then find out and be connected to creative industry jobs and opportunities. That is about sharing that through our newsletter. So we create a monthly newsletter, and we will be sharing regional opportunities through that. So through the South Yorkshire City region, through our socials and all of that kind of stuff. And actually Rotherham Creative Network is brilliant at sharing creative opportunities. And that's it. Oh, I'm a minute over, I'm sorry. But yeah, my details are on the next slide. So please do get in touch. Send me, if you're going to ring me, send me a text first, just so I know who it is, not so I can avoid you, just become like, who is this? And then it gives me a chance to kind of get my brain into gear. But yeah, that's it. Questions, Vicky?
Brilliant, thank you. Let me just stop sharing and get us all back in the room. Where are we all?
I've put the directory in the chat for anybody who's not spotted it yet, the link to the Flux directory.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. And thank you, Helen. That was amazing. It was it's always really inspiring to hear about the work that you're doing, and to see, I know myself, and there's probably many people in the room, the shift that Flux have made in Rotherham in terms of arts, culture and heritage since they've been here. It's not just kind of us trying to do things without support and without money and without, you know, it's not that we haven't got the passion and the drive, but to have something like Flux in the town centre and it working across Rotherham, it's very helpful. So thank you. And thank you, Noah, for contributing with your part as well. Thank you. So the next part is just for the next 10-15 minutes. If anybody does have any questions, I kind of like to open the floor up to people. If you do, maybe put your hand up so we've got a bit of an order to it. But please do feel free to ask any questions.
Can I just say one thing, Vicky, that I totally forgot to say? Sorry, Nikki.
No, we've got plenty of time.
I didn't talk at all, and I'm not going to now, but I didn't talk at all about the projects that we're running at the moment across. I talked a lot about events, but there are loads of community-based and borough-wide projects running. So the reason I've got loads of pizza boxes behind me is these are all creative packs that are going out through libraries that are linked with the Threads of Survival project. So just to say, we are doing absolutely massive, and I totally forgot to talk about that. So apologies.
If you do keep up to date with Flux on your social media, you can see everything that they're doing. They're doing some great work. And Nikki, did you have your hand up there? I'll just ask. Yeah.
I was just wondering how you get hold of the briefs for the community commissioning if we wanted to apply for any of those things.
Totally. So they all go out. They're all hosted on our website, Nikki. And then they'll be linked to through our social media, and Rotherham Creative Network. Vicky's really brilliant at sharing stuff as well. So if you follow us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram, and Aga can probably put those handles in the chat if she would be so kind. And then also sign up to the newsletter, Nikki, because they're going that. But actually, if it's the newsletter only comes out once a month, and it's much quicker to just look at the social media because you'll be much kind of quicker around the deadlines and so on. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, because I think that our little voluntary group of drummers is a very easy thing to slot into an event and just liven up any event, you know, so yeah. Okay, I'll follow your links. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and the other thing it's worth saying is not everything has to go through brief. So if there's a big event and you say, oh, you know, I've seen this festival, we would love to be part of that. So we've got loads of bands who are contacting us directly and so on for different things. So please do just contact us directly, because if it's about being part of a festival, then that's kind of you know, we might not put out a creative brief around that. We probably will around some of them, but a really simple one, as in, do you want to take part? Tell us these kind of 3 things, and so on. It won't be a massive application.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Nikki. Anyone else brave enough to take the stage? I'm not sure I can see everybody's hand as well, so you might need to do a virtual one because I can't see all the screens. I think I can see anybody else putting their hand up then.
Scrolling down, right? I can't see any hands.
I guess it'd be useful for me as well to find out. So when we try and make anything that we're putting out really straightforward to apply for. And you know, we kind of try to say, please don't submit more than this, or like you can submit in video or audio and all those sorts of things. But it'd just be really useful to kind of get some feedback as well on whether we are being as kind of accessible as we think we are, or not. Or yeah, anything that anyone would want to feedback, it'd be really useful for us. Oh, being really polite.
I know. Yeah, go. Yeah, Hayley, you don't unmute yourself. Sorry.
I don't know how to do the virtual hand thing, so
no, it's fine.
About over there. I suppose just like a tiny bit of feedback then, just because I've not really applied for FLUX before, but we've applied for one of the Creative CanClear commissions, and personally we found the brief quite accessible. Sometimes I think when you do these things, they're very, very, very long, or very, very, very time consuming, and they want to know, you know, what you've done from when you were like 6 months old to last week. And obviously, you know, as freelancers and stuff, it's a lot of like time you've got to find to put into it, and effort and energy. And I actually think it was really good because it really made us think concisely and really kind of try to clarify and make it clear what it was we were trying to say and do, rather than waffling on. So yeah, for us, we found the brief clear, helpful, and not kind of too long or too short. Yeah.
Thank you, that's really useful. And I suppose just to say that if we didn't contact you to ask for further questions, it's because your applications were really clear. So, you know, there was some where we were just like, oh, we just don't quite know exactly what they're wanting to do. So Katie or I will have come back with clarification questions.
Well, thank you, Hayley. Thank you, Helen. Anybody else got any questions? I suppose if you want to put anything in the chat that you don't want to say out loud, feel free. Or if you want to email us, or email Helen if something comes to you tonight and you think, oh, why didn't I ask that? Then you can get in touch after the meeting. So the next part of the thing was, I suppose, just to wrap it up. But I've got just a few things that I wanted to discuss with you and share with you before we say goodbye. So just to keep an eye on our social media for Artful, and keep an eye on the Rotherham Creative Network Facebook page. And if you're not already on there, please do add. I think we've got 950 members now on the Facebook forum, which is amazing. And that's something that's grown organically. Myself and Mark and other people have done that on a voluntary basis over the past 4 years to try and build that kind of network and that sector between us. So do contribute to it, share your ideas, share your work, ask questions. And just wanted to tell you about some other events that we've got coming up. We do have an event every month now for the next 12 months, either online, as I'd said before, or in person as a social. So the next meeting that we do have is on, I've written it down somewhere, Thursday the 24th of February, and that is going to be with SIMCA, which is short for South Yorkshire mayoral combined authority. It's a bit of a mouthful. And that is the mayor of South Yorkshire, basically, which is Oliver Coppard at the minute. And we'll be joining them with Opus Independence, who you might know for doing the Festival of the Mind, Now Then magazine, and a lot of great work over in Sheffield. So do keep your eye out for that event going online. I think it goes live now. I was going to put it in the chat, so we'll do that now for you. And that will be just talking about the arts, culture and heritage engagement strategy that was written, and there's a report that was pulled together that Rotherham contributed to, and it is about funding, finance, what kind of things they've got in their head in terms of South Yorkshire. And I think it's really important that Rotherham has a presence around that table. When we did the events last year with Opus, we kind of put out questionnaires, we did round the table events, which a few of you came to, and Rotherham didn't do so bad in terms of engagement. I think we were third in the thing, with Doncaster being the final one there. So do keep it up, do keep attending, make sure your voices are heard and that you contribute to these things and your needs that are met as creatives, because if we're not there and we're not banging the drum, then they're not going to listen to us. So do take that opportunity to come along. I will just figure out how to put that in the chat for you. Bear with me a second. Sorry about this, I'm a bit of a technophobe. There you go. I've just put that event in the chat. And again, it's a free event, so you can just register on Eventbrite and come along. It's the last Thursday of February. And with the following month, we'll be doing another meetup in March, which will be an in-person meetup, just a social, just to get together, no guest speakers, anything like that, just a bit of a meetup to see each other in the flesh. One last thing before you go on is we're doing a project which is supported by FLUX, and actually just to mention, the reason that we've all been able to come here today and the reason why we're doing this programme is because we've had some support from FLUX to help us do a creative programme for the next 12 months through 2023. So we're running something that's called Behind the Scenes. So we're wanting to connect with artists, creatives, musicians, dancers, all forms of creativity, to kind of showcase what happens behind the scenes and in the background. So a lot of us, we produce work and we're out there and things, but what happens behind the scenes? So this month we've showcased a chap called Stephen Wood, who's doing his MA of Fine Art, and he's from Rawmarsh. We've got other people coming up like writers and things, so please do get in touch if you're interested in being part of that showcase. There is a small fee that we can pay you for taking part in that as well. And we, as part of the project, we have the 12 monthly meetups. We've got the behind the scenes, and we're also going to be doing 4 large scale events, which are kind of, if you see us, it's going to be like if you saw us at Rotherham Show, like a panel of guest speakers. So if you've got a burning topic or you want to join in as a speaker, do get in touch and keep your eyes on our social media just for when we put call outs. And again, that's a paid opportunity thanks to FLUX. And then I think that's it from me. So thank you, Helen and the FLUX team. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who's come along and for your time on an evening when you're all finished work or you just want to relax. I see. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thanks. Take good care and I hope to see you at the next one.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time. Bye, Josh.